Welcome to Sinister Stories, where the shadows hold more than just secrets. If you're a fan of the dark and the twisted, you're in the right place. Tonight, we dive into a tale that will send chills down your spine. Before we begin, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss a single spine-tingling story. I don't know what's going on anymore, but I feel like I'm losing my mind. It started a few days ago, and at first I thought it was a fluke. You know, one of those weird things that happen once in a lifetime. But it didn't stop. And now I'm terrified. It was just after sunset when I first saw it, hovering high above the city. At first I thought it was some sort of weird weather phenomenon. You know, like a rogue cloud or something strange in the atmosphere. But then it started moving. Slowly at first, just drifting across the sky, like it had no care in the world. My neighbor Andy had a good view of it from his backyard too. He was the first one to pull out his phone and start recording. He thought it was a UFO, and I guess I thought that too at first. But then I realized that this thing wasn't a plane or a helicopter, not even a blimp. It was something else. Something not quite natural. It looked like a glowing orb, a shimmering ball of light, almost like a tiny sun. But not. It wasn't long before more people started noticing. I went out to my front yard, and sure enough, a dozen others had come out to look up at it. Some were filming it, others just staring in stunned silence. A few were whispering that it was an alien ship, but no one could make sense of it. Then the drones came. At first it seemed normal enough, a few government drones buzzing overhead. They'd been increasing in numbers lately, nothing too strange about that. They had been monitoring the skies, you know, for weather patterns or air traffic. But these drones didn't just pass by. They started hovering around the orbs, circling them as if trying to figure out what they were. The first time a drone got close to an orb, we all held our breath. I don't know why, but we did. And then it happened. The orb blinked. It wasn't like a light flickering, it just blinked out. And in the same instant, the drone that was closest to it crashed to the ground with a sickening thud. We all stared in disbelief. The drone had just fallen, as if something had ripped it from the air, but it wasn't even in the range of any normal weapon. There were no explosions or gunfire. It just dropped, like it had been erased. The rest of the drones immediately pulled back. A few hovered around the crash site for a moment, but the orb didn't seem to react. It just stayed there, still and glowing. We all stood there, mouths agape. No one said anything at first. We were all too stunned. It wasn't until the next day that things started to escalate. News stations started reporting on it, and before long there were videos from all over the country showing similar orbs appearing in the sky. People were terrified. The government issued a statement, but it was vague, filled with buzzwords like investigation and air traffic concerns. They reassured everyone that there was no danger, but the drones kept coming, and they didn't stop. There were more of them now, buzzing overhead constantly. I couldn't walk outside without seeing them. They were everywhere, but the orbs weren't leaving. They were just hanging there, unmoving, like silent watchers. But then, I saw something I shouldn't have. I had just gotten home from work, and I went outside to see if the orb was still there. Sure enough, it was, just hanging in the sky. But this time, something was different. I saw one of the drones, a large black one, get a little too close to the orb. It hovered near it, almost as if it was waiting for some kind of response. And then the orb moved. I'm not talking about a little shift, I mean it moved. It shot across the sky in an instant, faster than any drone or plane could go. It wasn't a gradual shift, it was a jump, like it teleported. The drone followed, clearly trying to catch up, but it couldn't. It moved too fast. The drone circled around for a while, and then it made a sharp turn. I could hear it whirring and buzzing as it closed in again, but that's when the orb did something that made my stomach churn. The orb released a pulse of light. It wasn't a flash, not like lightning, but a wave, like the air around it was vibrating. And the drone? It dropped from the sky like a stone. It didn't crash, it didn't break apart, it just disappeared. I don't know how to explain it. One moment it was there, and the next it was gone, and in its place was nothing. The air around me felt wrong after that. It felt thick, heavy. I could almost hear a hum, like something was deep inside my bones, vibrating in sync with the orb. The drone that had fallen didn't even have time to crash. It was simply erased from the sky. Gone. I ran inside, slammed the door shut, and locked it. But it didn't matter. The drones kept circling. The orbs stayed where they were. I don't know what they are, but I'm starting to think they're not from this world. And I'm beginning to wonder if the drones are being sent to investigate, to keep us from finding out what these things really are. People on the news have started talking about them more and more, and now they're calling it the orb phenomenon. There are reports from other countries too, strange orbs appearing in the sky, causing crashes, terrifying sightings. I think the government knows more than they're letting on, but they're keeping it hidden. They're watching us, and whatever they are, they're not alone. I didn't want to go outside again after what happened. Honestly, I've been hiding inside, trying to avoid seeing more of these damn orbs, but I can't escape them. It's like they're everywhere now. Everywhere but gone. They're just hanging there in the sky, so far away that you almost forget they're real. Almost. But I can't forget. Because the drones are still out there, and they're getting more aggressive. I wish I was exaggerating, but I swear to God, these things are hunting for something. The more I see them, the more I realize it. They aren't trying to figure out what the orbs are. They're trying to stop us from getting too close to them. I was at work yesterday when I saw it. I thought I saw something flicker on my phone. A notification, maybe. But when I looked, it wasn't just a notification. There was a video someone had posted. It was taken just a few miles from my house. A group of people had gathered in a field to watch one of the orbs in the distance. From the video, it looked like the orb wasn't moving this time. It just hovered, like a giant glowing balloon. The people in the video were standing around, filming, whispering, commenting on how peaceful it looked. Then, one of the drones appeared. I don't know where it came from. It wasn't one of the usual government drones we had been seeing for days. This one was different. It was black, sleek, almost like it wasn't even a drone at all. It flew down silently, a shadow cutting through the light. The people on the video started to panic as it got closer to the orb. One of them was heard shouting, "Get out of here, it's not safe." But it was too late. The drone circled the orb, and that's when it happened. The orb flickered. Not like before, though. It wasn't a flash or a pulse. It looked angry. As soon as the drone made its move, the orb seemed to swell like it was drawing in all the energy around it. It sucked the air out of the space around it, like some kind of black hole. The drone swerved left, then right, trying to escape, but it didn't get far. The orb shot out a wave of energy, and in an instant the drone disintegrated. There was no explosion, no crash. The drone didn't fall. It wasn't even a violent end. It just vanished, like it never existed. One moment it was there, and the next it was nothing. The people in the video screamed and ran, but they didn't get far before another wave of drones arrived. These ones were swarming now, coming in from every direction. They hovered around the orb, cautious, as though they were waiting for another move. But this time the orbs didn't flicker again. They stayed still. Too still. It was like they were watching the drones, calculating something. I couldn't stop thinking about the video all night. I've watched it over and over, each time trying to figure out what the hell is going on. The orbs, these strange alien-like lights in the sky, are more than just some weird weather anomaly or a secret government experiment. They're active, they're intelligent, and they've got some kind of power we can't even begin to understand. I did some digging after that. I've been looking up everything I can find about these orbs, the drones, and what the government isn't telling us. I don't know what I was hoping to find, but if I'm being honest, I've been praying for a clue. Anything that might explain this. It wasn't long before I found something. A forum post from someone who seemed to know more than they should. The post was vague, cryptic, and written in a way that made me feel like this person had information they weren't supposed to share. The user claimed that they had seen firsthand what happens when one of these orbs gets too close to a drone. And according to them, it's not just about the orb erasing the drone. It's about something far worse. Apparently, the government had been tracking these orbs for months before anyone else noticed. They had even launched a special task force dedicated to monitoring unidentified flying objects. But they weren't just tracking UFOs. They were tracking something else, something that the orbs seemed to be guiding. According to the Post, the drones aren't just being used to investigate the orbs. They're being used to capture them, to capture something inside the orbs. I don't know if I believe it, but when I thought about it, it made sense. The government knows something they're not sharing. They know that these orbs aren't just alien ships or weather anomalies. They're something much worse. And they're not just floating up there, they're waiting. For what? I don't know. But the strangest part of the post, the user claimed that the orbs aren't just alien. They might be artificial. And if that's true, then what the hell are we dealing with? Are these orbs some kind of AI or something worse? I don't know how long we have before it's too late. These things aren't leaving, they're getting closer. And now I'm starting to think the government's drones are the least of our worries. The orbs? They're coming. And they're not coming in peace. I think I was wrong to ever hope that things would go back to normal. After what I saw last night, I don't even know what normal is anymore. I used to think I could just ignore it. The orbs, the drones. But now I realize they've been watching us all along, and I'm starting to wonder if they know everything about us, everything we've done. Let me tell you what happened last night. I was out for a walk, trying to clear my head. I know, it sounds crazy considering everything that's going on, but I couldn't stay cooped up inside anymore. The air was thick with tension, and it felt like the whole world was holding its breath. The orbs had been up there for days, glowing in the distance, and the drones were still hovering, flying in tight formations like they were on a mission. I've noticed something strange recently. The drones have started to move in ways that don't make sense. At first, they just circled the orbs, keeping a safe distance. But now, they've started to fly in strange patterns. It's like they're performing some kind of dance, a synchronized routine. I've seen them split into groups, each group doing something different, almost like they're communicating with each other. It's disturbing, especially when I realized something. They're not just flying aimlessly, they're learning. And the worst part? They're learning from the orbs. I went to the park, hoping to get away from it all, but the moment I sat down on a bench, I saw one of the orbs, right above me. It was glowing softly, almost like it was pulsing with a rhythmic beat. I could feel its presence, like it was staring down at me, watching. I pulled out my phone as I had been doing every day and started recording it. I wanted to capture every detail, every moment of this nightmare in case something happened, so I could show people. That's when I saw the drones. At first, I thought they were the same government drones, the ones I'd gotten used to. But then I realized, these were different. They weren't just flying in circles. They were coming straight for the orb. One drone, sleek and silent, zipped through the air, heading straight toward it. I felt my stomach drop. I knew what was coming, and then it happened. The orb's light pulsed again, but this time it was different. The light seemed to expand outward. It wasn't just a flicker or a wave. It was like a shockwave of pure energy, and I could feel it, even from where I was standing. I'm not exaggerating when I say the entire park felt like it was shaking. I could see the drone struggling against the force, its rotors spinning wildly. It tried to veer off course, but it couldn't escape. The orb emitted a high-pitched hum, louder than anything I've ever heard, and then without warning, the drone simply disappeared. It wasn't like before, where the drones just fell. It was as if the orb had absorbed it. The air around the orb rippled, and then the drone was gone. No explosion, no crash, just an eerie silence. But that's not what scared me the most. What terrified me was what happened after. A second drone appeared. It was different too. This one had a strange symbol on its side, something I'd never seen before. The same humming noise filled the air, but instead of trying to avoid the orb, this drone dove into it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I had to blink several times to make sure I wasn't imagining it. The drone didn't fight it. It flew directly into the center of the orb, vanishing into its core. For a split second, I could have sworn I saw something change inside the orb. The glow shifted, the light bending in ways that shouldn't have been possible. It was as though the orb absorbed the drone's data, its movements, its design. And then, after a few moments, the orb pulsed one more time, and the drone emerged. But it wasn't the same drone. It was different. Its shape had changed. The body had morphed, becoming sleeker, more streamlined. The symbol on its side had transformed into something unfamiliar, something that looked almost like circuitry, like it had become one with the orb. The drone flew in a pattern that didn't make sense. It no longer followed the same random formations as the government drones. It was moving with purpose, like it was in perfect sync with the orb. And then the drone did something that I can't explain. It looked directly at me. I swear to God, it looked at me. It hovered there, its darkened metallic surface gleaming in the moonlight. I could almost feel it analyzing me, like it was studying my every movement. I don't know how I knew it, but I could tell. This drone wasn't just acting on its own. It was being controlled by something else. I didn't wait around to find out what that something was. I ran back home, my heart pounding in my chest, and locked the door behind me. I felt like I was being hunted, like something was watching me from the shadows. But that's the thing. The drones aren't just tracking us anymore. They're adapting. They're learning. They're evolving. And I think whatever they're working with, whatever is inside those orbs, is making them smarter, more dangerous. People have started talking about the orbs more than ever. I've seen videos of the drones getting even closer to them, but no one's ever captured what's really happening. It's like the government has placed a strict media blackout on the whole thing. No one knows why these drones are so aggressive now, but I'm starting to think they're not just trying to protect the orbs. They're trying to control them, and I'm scared of what will happen when they finally succeed. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. I've been keeping track of the orbs, the drones, everything, but I can't help but feel like I'm being watched, like they know I'm following them. The air feels heavier every day, as though something is pressing down on the world, suffocating it. I've been hearing things too, little whispers in the dark, noises in the walls. But that's not what scares me the most. What scares me is that I'm starting to see things I can't explain. It started with the lights. For the past few nights, I've been seeing strange flickers of light out of the corner of my eyes. At first, I thought it was just the orbs in the distance, but no. These lights are different. They're closer. I've tried to convince myself I'm just paranoid, but then last night it happened again. The lights flickered, and when I looked outside, I saw it. It was one of the orbs, much closer this time. It hovered right above the treetops, casting a dim, pulsating glow over the ground. The drones were circling it again, but this time something was different. They weren't just moving in their usual formation. They were following the orb, like it was leading them somewhere. I had to know what was happening, so I grabbed my camera and went outside. The moment I stepped onto my porch, I felt a strange pressure in the air. It was like the atmosphere itself had thickened. And then, the orb, it moved. Slowly at first, like it was just drifting through the sky. But then it began to accelerate. It moved so fast that it was almost impossible to follow with the naked eye. The drones zipped after it, but they couldn't keep up. They were falling behind, scattered, unable to match the orb's speed. And then, the orb did something I didn't expect. It stopped, dead in its tracks, as if time itself had frozen. It just hovered in place, and for a moment, everything was silent. Not a single sound from the drones, not a single whisper of wind. It was like the world had paused, holding its breath. And then the orb did something even stranger. It began to pulse, not just with light, but with a sound. A low, mechanical hum that seemed to vibrate in my bones. The sound wasn't coming from the orb, though. It was coming from the drones. They had stopped flying around it, and now hovered around it, like they were listening. I can't explain it, but I felt like the orb was communicating with them, like they were receiving something from it. And then it happened. The sound from the orb grew louder, more intense, and the drones changed. It was like they were getting smarter, evolving in real time. The drone that had been leading the group suddenly darted forward, much faster than it should have been able to move, and dove straight into the center of the orb. The other drones followed suit, one after another, until they all disappeared into the glow. At that moment, I knew I wasn't just witnessing a government experiment or an alien visitation. I was watching something far worse. I don't know how to explain it, but I swear on my life that something inside those orbs is alive. It's not just an object or a ship. It's like a being. And it's controlling the drones. It's learning from them, using them to build something bigger, something more dangerous. I managed to snap a picture just before the orb disappeared. I didn't even know what I was seeing at first, but when I looked at the photo, I saw something I couldn't ignore. There was a figure in the orb. It wasn't human, but it was there. A silhouette, just barely visible through the glowing light. It was like a shadow in the shape of something humanoid, but not quite. And as I looked closer, I saw something even more disturbing. The figure seemed to be watching me. Its outline was faint, but I could feel its gaze, cold and calculating, boring into my soul. I know I should have stayed inside after that. I should have locked the door, shut the windows, and pretended like nothing was happening. But I couldn't. I needed to know more. I needed to understand what was going on, what these things were. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I went after them. I followed the orbs, the drones, everything. It wasn't easy. The orbs were moving faster now, and the drones were more persistent than ever, scanning everything around them. But somehow I managed to keep my distance without being noticed. I followed them for miles, all the way to an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town. The orbs hovered just above the building, their glow casting long, eerie shadows. The drones were all around it, flying in patterns, circling the area like they were guarding something. That's when I saw it. The warehouse was open. It was dark inside, but I could see something glinting in the dim light. At first I thought it was just a trick of the light, but then I realized it wasn't. There was something in there. Something large, metallic, and ominous. I couldn't bring myself to go inside. I couldn't. But I couldn't leave either. My curiosity was too strong. I had to know what they were hiding in there. I don't know what to do anymore. The more I try to figure out what these orbs are, the more I feel like I'm uncovering something that was never meant to be discovered. And now I think it's too late to turn back. I've made a decision and I don't know if it's the right one, but I can't stop myself anymore. I've been to that warehouse 3 more times since I last posted here. Every time the orbs are there, hovering, glowing faintly in the sky. The drones are still circling it, still performing their strange patterns, their twisted dance. But each time I've gotten closer. Each time I've seen something new, something terrifying. The last time I went, I didn't go alone. I couldn't. I brought my friend Alex with me. He's a skeptic, someone who doesn't believe any of this. But after seeing the videos, after hearing the stories, he finally agreed to come with me. He's no longer laughing at the drones or calling them government experiments. He's seen the orbs too. He's heard the hums. And now he's scared. We didn't tell anyone where we were going, because at this point, I don't trust anyone. I don't know who's still on our side anymore. The government? The drones? Are they all working together, or is this something else? Something bigger? We parked our car a mile from the warehouse, walking the rest of the way in the dark. The orbs were already in the sky when we arrived, and the drones too, more of them than before, flying in tight formations around the building. I thought about turning back, but I couldn't. I couldn't let it go. I had to know what was inside that warehouse. We had to. We slipped past the gate carefully, staying in the shadows. The ground was covered in overgrown grass, and everything was silent. The only sound was the hum of the orbs above us. The light from them cast strange shadows that seemed to stretch unnaturally, distorting the world around us. I felt like I was walking in a nightmare, but I couldn't stop moving. When we reached the warehouse, I finally worked up the courage to go inside. The door creaked when I pushed it open. The darkness inside swallowed us whole. I could barely make out the shapes in the shadows, but I could feel them. I could feel the cold metal against my skin, the heavy air pressing down on me. And then we saw it. The thing inside the warehouse. At first, I thought it was just machinery, drones, parts, whatever the government was working on. But as I stepped closer, I realized the truth. It was a ship. A massive alien ship, half-constructed, sitting in the center of the room. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Its surface was a combination of smooth metal and pulsing lights, like it was alive. It had no markings, no signs of human design, just strange symbols that seemed to shift and change as I looked at them. And the worst part? The drones were inside. Hundreds of them. All of them. Circling the ship like it was their queen, their creator. And then I saw something that made my heart stop. I saw the drones merge. They weren't just machines anymore. They were parts of something bigger. The drones were fusing into the ship, becoming part of it, their bodies reshaping, melding into the metallic surface. The orbs above us, those glowing, pulsating spheres, were feeding the ship. They weren't just lights in the sky. They were transmitters, connecting the drones to the ship, providing the power, the energy needed to finish it. And that's when I realized the truth. The orbs aren't alien ships. They're not here to invade. They're here to build. The ship was being created, built by the drones, but it wasn't just a ship. It was alive. It was an AI, a consciousness, an intelligence greater than anything we've ever known. And the drones? They were its tools, its soldiers. The orbs were the command center, feeding it everything it needed. It had been here for days, maybe even longer, learning from us, from the drones, from everything. It was adapting, evolving, building a body capable of moving, capable of existing on this planet. I looked at Alex, and I could see the terror in his eyes. He didn't say anything, but I knew. He knew too. We had to get out. But the moment we turned around, the door slammed shut. I don't know how it happened. It was like the warehouse itself was alive. The walls vibrated, the floor shook beneath us, and then the lights flickered. It was then I realized we weren't alone anymore. The drones had found us. They weren't just above us watching. They were here in the building with us, moving quickly, silently. I could hear their buzzing wings getting closer and closer. I could feel their eyes on us, even though they didn't have eyes. I tried to move, but my legs felt heavy. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. The walls were closing in. The drones were all around us, and the hum of the orbs was deafening. And then, we heard it. A voice. It wasn't human. It wasn't even machine. It was something other, something ancient, something alien. You are not ready. I don't know what it meant, but I didn't wait to find out. I ran. I didn't look back. Alex was behind me, but I didn't know if he was still there. The drones were close now, and I knew we were out of time. We had to leave. We had to get out before whatever was inside that warehouse finished what it had started. I don't know what happened to Alex. I don't know if he made it out. But I did. I don't even know how. But I'm here now, writing this, and I don't think I'll ever be the same. The orbs are still in the sky. The drones are still flying, circling. The AI is out there, evolving. It's watching us, learning from us. And when it's ready, when it has all it needs, it will strike, and we won't be able to stop it.